Welcome to Tech Challenge Makers Conquer E-Commerce. I'm ELISE, your resident tech expert and author of the book Browser versus Buyer. I've worked with e-commerce shop owners for over 6 years, and I've helped hundreds of creatives overcome their technology fears. Gain clarity and direction in your business with ELISE's E-Commerce Elevator 6-month group coaching program. Join now at myscheduledbiz.com/elevator. The link is in the show notes. Hi, Bizzers! So today we're going to be talking with Angie Gordon from Created Social and Gathered Sown. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand why blogs can be important to your business, the technology that's required, and walk away with one action step. So Angie, I am really glad to have you here with us today. Please just tell us a little bit about your business and your experience with e-commerce.
Well, I'm really excited to be here, Elise. You and I have been friends for many years, so it's always fun to talk to you. And I love to strategize businessy stuff, so it's really great to be able to talk to you and do that too. So I'm Angie Gordon, and I'm here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I have been running Gathered Sown now as my e-commerce business since about 2008. So that kind of makes me old. But so what started out as a business that I was running out of my home, it was an accidental business. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Elise, but what started it started me and my friend made ourselves handbags, like just out of fun, because we had little kids at home and we wanted to, we busted out the old sewing machines. I didn't even know how to use a sewing machine at the time. And we got them out. We got some patterns that we printed from the internet, which was a big deal back then in 2008. And we made some purses. And then friends started to ask us, like, where did you get that? And I said, well, I made it. And they're like, well, would you make one for me? So I started making it for friends, and it snowballed. And then in 2008, when my friend moved away, I ended up being told by another friend, they're like, you should check out this site and sell your purses online. And she was like, this is brand new site, and it's called Etsy. And so I started on Etsy like right when it first started, and that kind of started everything. So now Gathered Sown has grown. I'm no longer actually doing bags. I'm doing Bible covers. It evolved over the years. I'm doing all leather handmade custom Bible covers, and I'm still on Etsy, but I just use that more so as like obviously a source of revenue and sales, but I use that to funnel my people to my website because I also have a website. So that's where I'm at today. And then Created Social has come from me helping my friends over the years, because like I had to do all of the work of figuring out everything, every little detail of running a business I learned, and I had to just like hustle and grow and figure it out. And so over the years, I've helped many of my friends who were stuck, and I'd say, you know, I know how to do that. I'll help you with that. And I would do it for free. And you cannot sustain yourself working for free. I learned that. So
believe me, I know.
So I am now working with my friend Tara Lee, and we are running our business called Created Social. And what we believe is that all of us were created with a personality and a different set of gifts. And what we want to do is teach small business owners how to use that to reach their ideal client and to make their businesses flourish and grow. And a big part of that is just getting back to enjoying what you do. And so we want to take the headaches out of how you run your business and make it more seamless, more streamlined, and we help them out where we can, but we also just want you to have the passion back in your business.
That's awesome. I think your story really lines up with a lot of e-commerce makers. You know, you made it for one particular reason. Like for me, I got into making because I made covers for my daughter's binders because they were required to have a binder with a cover, and all the ones that were in the store were boring. And then all of a sudden her friends all wanted me to make them for them. And then that went into purses. And then I decided to do jewelry, and, you know, just kind of rolls from there until you've done like everything and you've gone the full gambit. So I think that our listeners can probably really relate to your story too, which is really great. And anytime you can share your expertise with someone else, I think that's a good goal. That's a good ambition.
Well, I'd love to do that. Like, you know, you see a person floundering where you were 10, 12 years ago, and they're so overwhelmed by all the different aspects of what you have to learn and what you have to know. And so it's always so nice to be able to help somebody and get them out of that rut that they're stuck in, because, you know, we've all been there. We've all been stuck in that same place. So like, let's give them a little boost and get them going, and so they can really pursue what they want to do.
Yeah, it's this thing about like competition, right? So people often talk about their competitors, and it's a different perspective to be like, there's enough for everybody, and we can all help each other get to where we want to go. And it doesn't have to be like this cutthroat mentality of, I can't help you because I need to hoard it all for myself. I think sometimes that's what happens.
And I have some business owner friends who are very much like that. They're very protective of their niche, and they don't want to they don't want to work with anybody who's within that same area because they're afraid it's going to impede on their own business. But I have found that the opposite is actually true, that I partner with a lot of people who do things that are very similar to what I do. And we both bring different things to the table. And so when we collaborate on things, they grow to be so great. And some of the best partnerships I've done over the years have been with people who do something very similar to me, but that we just have different things that we bring. So I highly recommend it. And it's so much more fun than trying to avoid those people and talking about them because, you're doing it so much better than they are. It's so much more fun to be able to just pick each other's brains and share experiences and just befriend those people.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so let's get back on course. So today we're here to talk specifically about blogs, because I know that you have a very successful blog that has taken your business to new places and all of those good things. So I just have, kind of the biggest thing I think when I talk to the bizzers is, it's kind of a waste of time. It's a big time suck. So the real question here is, how can a blog impact sales? And why is it an important key to increasing the sales on your website?
Okay. So I think the first part of that is, how can it impact sales? It can impact sales in a great way. End of story. No, just kidding. There's so much more to it than that. I think in my case, so this again, like I'm the accidental entrepreneur. I think like so many of the things that I do well end up being, they were an accident at the beginning, and my blog is no exception. It started out as me writing emails to my clients, and I'm just, by nature, I'm just a very sincere, transparent person. So I kind of put my heart on my sleeve and just put it out there. And that relates very well to the niche that I'm in, which is Christian women. Like I'm reaching Christian women with my Bible covers. So what I started to do was send out these emails with like kind of a devotional in the email. And then I started to think to myself, well, I'm sending it out in an email, and then it's just poof, gone. You send it out there and then you don't do anything with it. So then I started to put it, I had at the time a WordPress site, and I started to put this on my blog on there. Well, then all of a sudden I started to realize, well, now I can share this valuable thing. I can put it on Pinterest. I can send it to my email list. I can make videos with it. There's so many other things that I could do with this one piece of information. So I think that if you're doing it right and you're doing it correctly, and you're thinking of it not just as a way to get, because SEO is really important, and that's a really great way to get traffic to your blog or to your website. But if you look at it as, how can I speak to my customers in an authentic way that is going to relate to them and make them want to come back and buy? I think that that's where the real gold is with blogging for a small, a product-based business, or even a service-based business for that matter. But when you're using your blog as a way to get people to buy your other products, you want to be sincere and authentic. And I think that that's where the money is.
Yeah. So, I think as far as increasing sales, so it's twofold, like you said. Number one, when people see how real you are and how much you want to help them by answering their questions with your blog, they start to relate to you, which means that they become raving fans. Raving fans buy over and over again. Okay. So that is sort of a motivation, but like you said, you have to be sincere about it as well. This isn't just I want more money, right? So this is, you're building that relationship, and the outcome of that is that they will buy from you. And then second, you use your blog as a way to use keywords that are really important for search engine optimization, SEO, and that can help you get more traffic to your site, which will also result in sales, because it's a numbers game. The more traffic you have coming, assuming your website is at least semi-decent, you will get more sales. So a blog can definitely impact sales. And I think sometimes people see it as a time suck, and it does require time, especially if you're going to do it well, but it also can be a huge turning point for your business and getting sales.
Yeah. You have to plan it, so you can't just say, I think I'm going to write a blog post. So you want to be consistent. So for me, because it was a devotional thing, it was always on Sundays. So I would take a full day. I'd have a topic already in my mind. I would write the post, but then I would get it all scheduled. I'd get my email written, but then I would go ahead and I would do a live video. And, so I would kind of knock everything out one day. Then I take the live video, put it onto YouTube. And so then I would kind of take I built it into my work week. You have to plan it because it is valuable, and it is a great way to get in touch with your clients and your customers. So I think it's one of those things, just like anything else in your business, you have to just plan for it. And then it's not as overwhelming as you might think.
Yeah, I agree. I have on my calendar, I literally put one thing on each day. This is my one goal for the day. And so I'm not currently working on a blog, but I have my podcast, my YouTube episodes. And so of course on there, it's this is YouTube day. This is podcast day, and so it's the same thing. You say, I'm going to make this blog. You set it aside, I'm going to work on this once a week or however often you're going to be posting to your blog. And that day is for that specific thing. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Exactly. Okay, so let's move on. So our next question has to do with tech, which the Bizzers, of course, tech challenged. So this is an important question for them. And that is, what aspect of technology overwhelms makers when it comes to publishing and maintaining their blog?
Well, I think the first thing to get out of the way is that you can have a blog. Like, a lot of people think that if they have like a Shopify store, like you were saying, or if you're on WooCommerce, that you can't have a blog. You absolutely can. I have a couple of different websites. One of them is on WordPress, WooCommerce, or two of them. One of them is on Shopify, and I have a blog on both. So it is very possible. And there's great tools out there that you can use to make blogging easier. But in my experience and with the people that I kind of mentor and help with this kind of thing, the biggest hurdle that they have with blogging is this like spider webby effect of getting all of these things to work together. So I mentioned that in the last question a little bit, that for me, and you don't have to do it this way, but I think that a big thing that a lot of makers do is they think, well, I'm going to write this great post and I'm going to put it on my blog.
End of story.
End of story. And
you're done.
And they're like, why am I not getting traffic? What am I not doing? But the key is, like I said, you have to strategize a little bit more than that. So you've got this great post. You've spent all this time writing it. You've done the SEO on it. You've got great keywords. You've formatted it correctly. Like, you've done all of the things to make the SEO great. So that's great. You're going to get a little bit of juice from that. But what helps in SEO more than anything is you bringing some traffic to it as well. Because like the traffic that you're bringing is only going to help in the long run on these things. So what I learned, and a good friend, her name is ELISE, like she helped me with this back then. I had these great posts and I was sending them out in an email, and then it would sit there. And then next week I'd write another post, put it out in an email, and it would sit there. And, and when you have this post, you have an outline now for a live video. So are you comfortable going into your Facebook group and doing a live video and talking face to face? So I started doing that. Then I would take that live video and I would download it from Facebook or Instagram. And then I would I'd edit it a little bit, make it cuter, put an intro on it, and I'd put it onto onto YouTube. So now I have like some followers coming in on YouTube. And then what I would do is I would take that YouTube video that now I have, it's all pretty and tied up with the package with the bow and has a link to the blog post and everything else, which also in the blog post, you always have to have a link for them to get on your email list. Don't forget that. And I would take the YouTube video and now I'm going to share that with my email list. Because like the email list people, they're interested in the devotional. They're also going to be interested in the content of the video. It might be the same topic, so I might share that a couple weeks later. But you can see how one post can give you content for many different platforms where you can reach a variety of people and get them sharing your content.
So, I mean, as far as the tech goes, so number one, it's the technology of your site to actually put the post up. Then in addition to that, you have to know the technology for things like scheduling social media, possibly doing videos live or posting to YouTube. All of this stuff is technology you kind of have to have an understanding with. But when you started doing all these different pieces of technology, you didn't know how they worked, right?
I knew nothing.
So you had to figure each of those things out as you went. So like you said, when you first started blogging, you're putting up your blog and just leaving it there, just sending it to your email list. Then you keep adding new pieces to that. The other thing is you can always go back later and send something out. So you could have a blog post that's from 2 years ago. You can still send out a post, an email, a video, refresh that topic and use that same blog post again. That's one of the things that's so nice about a blog, is that it's literally evergreen. It is forever. You can keep using it again. You can even go back and update it and then put updated 2022. Do you know what I mean? And so it's one of those things that you can just keep using again and come back to, and it can inspire all sorts of other things for your business.
Well, and I think too, and it's important that if you do that and you go back, update your SEO too.
Yep.
And there's a lot of help out there for that too, but you can always make a good thing better. You can just keep improving on it and using it more. And you could even like go back to some of your older blog posts, like from a year ago, and then make fresh videos with those while leaving the blog post just as it is, if it's performing well. Because I always say, if a blog post is performing well and you're getting a lot of hits from it, leave it, don't mess with it. But if you have something that's not performing well, tweak it, make it better, check your keywords and make a video, get some more traffic going to it that way. So leave the things that are doing well, but improve the things that aren't doing as well.
Well, and the other thing is, there's this aspect of skyscraper blogging. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. Okay, so I'm pretty sure. So skyscraper blogging is this idea of making one giant blog post that is about 10, or I've heard all different numbers, but it's a lot of different kind of mini topics. Yeah. And then each of those mini topics you kind of rewrite and also make it its own individual blog. So if you have one blog post that you've written and it does really well, you can use that as inspiration to make a bigger blog post that would include some other topics. And that really helps with SEO because now you've got these links going back and forth between them. Yep. Now on your big content, you don't want to put links to the smaller content because you want to tell Google that your big content, the one that has 10 different things in it or 20 different things in it, is the one you want to send people to. But then those little ones, because they're sending to the big one, especially if one of the little ones is one that's already doing well, it will actually help you get that bigger piece of content seen even more. So there's all sorts of ways to take your blog and make it like even bigger and better as time goes on. But initially, of course, it's a matter of figuring out what keywords your customers are looking for, because you have to know that. You have to know what questions they're asking. So all of this is tech stuff. How do you figure out what questions they're asking? Google it.
Google. I was going to say Google is like the best thing for that. You just type in your keyword and you scroll down and they give you a list of questions. And then the questions that are relevant to your post, you click on it and then it gives you more questions. It's just like, it's the best thing. And then what I'd like to do is take those questions and I integrate them into my post. Exactly. So I might put them as an H3, I might bold them, but like, so take those Google questions and put them in your post. Like let Google know that you're an authority to answer those questions.
Exactly. So that's kind of one of those tech things, right? And for those of you who don't know, H3 is header 3. So on a website, you've got different sizes of headers, and usually they have different fonts associated with them, etc. And so H3, H2, and H1. So H1 is your biggest one, H2 falls under that, H3 falls under that. And so basically she's saying, put these questions in a header, like a title, right? And that is what Google looks at first before it looks at your content. So if you put those questions there, it really rings for Google as being your own authority, like she was saying. I just like to make sure I always elaborate on things that I think someone may not know what we're talking about, because there's a lot of like acronyms and things in this that sometimes people don't know what we're talking about. All right, let's move on because we're already getting a little bit over what I like to do for the podcast. So this is like kind of our final question and like kind of the biggest one, right? Because our listeners want to be able to walk away from this and actually do something. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to every e-commerce shop owner about blogging?
Okay. My biggest piece of advice is to find what you're good at, what comes naturally, and what your customers are going to relate to and stick to it. So there's this idea out there too that in blogging, like, one day if you're blogging every day, maybe this would work for you. Like one day I'm going to share a recipe and one day I'm going to do this and one day I'm going to do that. They might all relate to the same topic. But if you're a small business owner maker and you're not just a full-time blogger, that's not going to work for you. So what you want to do is find something that you do and do really, really well and be very consistent with it so that you can keep those diehard fans coming back for more, but that also then when you're pulling people in with your content, they know what to expect and they know what your business is about. So in my case, it's the devotionals. I've never strayed from that since it started working for me, and I'm going to continue doing that. And as a matter of fact, I'm building a whole side like sister website based off of the devotionals and stuff. And so I'm actually turning that into like a whole separate thing on its own because it is so good and it feeds into Gathered and Sown. And so they're going to work together. But I just think find something that works well and just do it really well. Instead of trying to be everything and do everything and try different things, try something for a good period of time to see if it's working. If it's not working, pivot. But then when you find that thing, just stick with it.
Right. So, there is something to be said for you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but at the same time, if you don't try something long enough to see if it's actually working, you're never going to know. You might have already tried and left the thing that would have made a difference for your business.
Yep.
So yeah, excellent. I mean, you got a whole new revenue stream basically because you started doing these blogs, which are now turning into all these other things. I mean, Angie has books and all sorts of stuff now that kind of come from when you started doing this blogging. Isn't that correct?
100%. Yeah. And actually, and it turns out that that's my favorite thing to do. And I think it's because of the connections that I have with my customers. It's no longer just a name on an invoice to me, but I have so many women who would respond to my emails because I write them as if it's me talking to you. I don't write it as an authority, I write it as like Angie talking to ELISE. Like, I want my customers to know that they are more to me. Like, their business to me isn't just, like I said, another invoice that I pull out and make a Bible cover and ship it out. Like, I'm humbled at the fact that people choose me to do this for them. And I want that to come through to my clients. And so whatever it is that you stand for in your business, you want that to come through to your customers, your readers, your followers, whatever, however you're reaching them, that's what you want to come through. So yeah, so when I'm starting the second website, like I said, that's going to complement, because I was like, I love this part so much. I need to find a way that I can monetize this as well, so that I can not only just use this as a way to get customers to Gathered and Sown, but I need to use it in a way so that I can do this every day, because I love doing it that much.
So I just heard like some of the visitors going, wait, you're telling me I have to have another website? Okay,
No,
just draw that back a little bit. So I just wanted to share with you some of the possibilities that could happen. So Angie took this, doing the blogging, and has taken it to a whole nother level by doing books and all these other things. She's bringing in a whole new business to utilize what she's learned from doing this. And that is something that potentially could happen for you, but that doesn't mean that that's the road you're going to go down. It's just an opportunity, right? So like anything else, you choose which opportunities to take. And I think it's pretty astounding that Angie went from, oh, I should probably write a blog, to now I've done all this stuff. It took her a couple of years to do that, but it's something that really has been
5 years. Yeah.
So don't think we're saying you're going to write one blog post and suddenly you're going to have all these extra things to do. That isn't the case, right? So you focus on the one thing, and this blog can really impact your sales, your site, and your connection with your clients, your customers. So it really is something that can bring kind of joy into what you're doing for your business. So I know I very often hear from people that they feel like their business is just like this task list, this to-do list, and they're just, I hate getting on the computer. I'd rather be making, I'd rather be doing these other things. Your blog doesn't have to be just another thing that you have to do. It can be something that you really enjoy.
Yes. And you have to find what works for you too. Like, somebody might be more of an introvert, especially as makers who, we're working behind a screen. So not all of us are like, it's kind of funny. I call myself like an extroverted introvert. Like, I like my space, but I also I love communicating and talking and relating to people. So that's the part that I picked up on. And that's why I'm taking this to something else now too, is just because I love that so much. But you might just be doing this just to get new clients, and that's okay. You don't have to do what I'm doing. And I think you just need to find what works for you, find what gets the authentic you through to your clients, and so that you can start to build on that. So it's just about finding what works for you.
Yeah. And, we put a lot of time into posting on social media and sending emails, like Angie said, but all of those are short-lived. So your blog is something that's going to be there forever, and that you can, again, use again and again and again. And so doing something that's evergreen like that really can be helpful to your business and kind of make you feel like you got more bang for your time buck. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have to turn into you writing books. It can definitely just be that you're doing this as a way to get traffic so that you can ultimately get sales. That is 100% okay. Just find those questions, go Google it, find the questions that your customers are asking. And it can really help you with your customer service also. So I'll give you an example, and then we're going to close up. On my YouTube channel, I started thinking, what questions do I get asked all the time? And I started making videos about that. And now someone will be like, ELISE, I'm thinking about doing this thing. How can I do this? Blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, oh, here's a YouTube video that I have already ready for you. So this can be the same thing. If there's something that is a frequently asked question that you get all the time, make a blog post about that. And then when someone asks you, you literally just give them the link, and they've got all the information that they need. You're not having to retype or make a call or, all of these things, the exact same information that you've already given to hundreds of other people. And so it can also help with your customer service.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, because mine is a product-based business, I just want to touch on that a little bit too, because sometimes you're thinking, well, how can I make this relate to a product? So I'll just explain the connection that I made with mine. Because I'm doing Bible covers, obviously if not all of my clients are going to be Christian, usually women, because I like to use a lot of pink and gray and bows and, things like that. So, so that's just the type of people who are attracted to my product. And so this just started out as me sending an email to my clients. And so they didn't necessarily have questions, because what questions do you have about a Bible cover? Like, how do I measure my Bible? Well, that's not an interesting blog post. So I had to start to think, what kind of things do these?
Okay, but I want to interject for just a minute. It's maybe not an interesting blog post like what you're talking about, but that is something that your customers want to know. And I think you can write a blog post about something like that.
I have.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure, we're not saying don't do that as a blog post. Okay.
And I think, yeah, because that's a separate type. And that's like something, like you said, is more evergreen on there. So I have that information out there. And actually, I really should redo that now that I'm thinking about it, because I haven't, that was a long time ago that I did that. So, but I think that that's like, when you're just trying to think of a long-term strategy for how to like really reach the heart of your customers, that's kind of what you do. Is it's sometimes if it's a product-based business, you have to look at their interests that they all have in common, that your customers have in common, and that's what you speak to. And of course, like the obvious questions are going to be, about the products and things like that. So you have to touch on those things as well. But as far as your long-term strategy and like your evergreen strategy and the things that you put out there, like on social media, those are the things that grab people's attention, is when you're talking about a topic that they're really interested in and something that they want to know more about, but it also brings them back to your product. You want them to ultimately come back and buy your product too.
I think one of the easiest ways, I think, which I don't know, maybe you'll disagree with me, one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, to do something where you're trying to talk about lifestyle is to come up with a list. So like I have carry clips, I do water bottle holders, phone holders. Okay. So it's geared towards travel in the outdoors. So if someone was traveling, what things might they need? They might need my carry clip, but they also might need a suitcase or a pouch to put their passport or whatever in. If they were traveling, they might, or if they were going outdoors, they might also need a backpack for their hiking stuff. They might need a tent. And so you can actually just think to yourself, what are some things that someone might use with my stuff? Now write an article about what are the top 10 things that I need when I'm blah. So what is it that your people are going to be doing with your product, and or where is it they like to go? What is their life like? And what hints can you give them for that lifestyle?
Absolutely.
And that's a really natural way to talk about your products and potentially get a sale and be addressing their lifestyle, right? Because we all need checklists and we want to know ideas about the best way to X, or, so anything like this is going to be a way of kind of coming up with a list of things that you can then talk about. And your stuff can be one of those things that you talk about.
Yep. And for me, that's why it was so easy, is because like you're buying a Bible cover. So obviously you have a Bible. If you have a Bible, I'm hoping you're reading it. So let's talk about that.
Right.
Let's talk about reading your Bible. And so now as people are finding my blog posts, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm a Bible reader. And so they might be somebody who reads their Bible and wants to talk about that. And then all of a sudden, oh, she makes these really cool Bible covers too. So you want it to work together.
Exactly. Or for carry clips, I have a YouTube channel where I do reviews for outdoor products.
Yes.
And on every review, I talk about my carry clips. Okay. So, but what I'm actually giving them is this information about all different outdoor products they might need when they're going to be outside, right? Your blog probably shouldn't be just, this is an article about my products. It should be something else. I just recently worked on a website and she sells tumblers. And so she actually had an article about the top 5 alcoholic beverages for summer or something like that. Well, if you're going to learn about alcoholic beverages, you need something to put those beverages in, right? So that's a really good connection, a really good way to bring that in. So those types of things really work well for a blog. And you can use that same content on a social media post, give them the 5 things, but they have to go to your blog to read why, or to get the details or the recipe or whatever the case may be. So all of this stuff works really well for social media and leading into your blog.
Can I lead with another example?
Yes,
because one of my clients who Created Social, he makes cremation urns. It's a hard thing to sell. I was going to say it's a horribly hard thing to sell because you have to find the right person at the right time. And in a horrible time of their life, they just lost somebody. And so like one of the strategies that we're doing on his website is, again, we want to reach these people authentically. We don't want to hit them in the pocketbook at the most vulnerable time in their life. Like what we're trying to do is communicate to them that we're here with you. Like we've been in these instances, we want to help you. And so we have a blog for him and I write all of his posts. And one of his best performing blog posts, because I've done some things about planning a funeral on a budget. I've done choosing how to choose a cremation urn, some things that are more related directly to the product. The 2 posts that are getting the most like traffic are one that I did. I think it was called like 8 Bible verses for somebody who's mourning, or 8 inspirational Bible verses for a memorial service. And those are bringing traffic to his site and we're sharing them on social media and things like that. But it just started from a blog post because you want to hit that person. Like, I hate to sound, it's so awful because you're talking about death and a funeral. Like you hate to use those person as a customer, but like you need to reach that customer at the time that they need it. And so a person who's looking for comforting Bible verses at their funeral, they might be looking for a cremation urn too. And
Right.
here on the site, you're going to get a good one that's handmade. They're beautiful, high quality, all American. So I think that that's a good example too, because it's a very, very hard customer to find.
Yes.
And so that's the way that we're trying to reach them, is just by talking to them.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. I think that's an excellent example. So we did the full gambit here, guys. We did cremation urns, selling alcoholic beverages, Bibles. I mean, the whole thing. It'll work for any of the things.
It works for everybody.
It works for everybody. A blog is very versatile. Okay. So Angie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I've really had a great time.
I'm so glad you asked me. I love doing this kind of stuff.
Me too. So if our listeners wanted to know more about you, where can they find you? Give us your details for your Bible covers, for Created Social, for the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so my website for the Bible covers, I'll go in order of age. So my Bible cover website is Gathered and Sown. So it's spelled gathered and then AND and SOWN. So that's my Bible covers. And then Created Social is just createdsocial.com. And that's a very new site. We actually just launched the site like 2 weeks ago, and it's not even 100% done, but we're getting there. We have more clients. Like, it's kind of funny we did that backwards. We added the website because we have this client base, and we're like, we need to have a website. So we're getting there. And then the third one is the one that I'm just in the process of building now. And by the time this airs, it'll be live. But as I'm saying this, it's like I don't have it out there yet. But that one is called timeinthewordmadesimple.com.
And so guys, this is kind of a slightly off topic, but I do just want to kind of, brag on Angie for a minute. My daughter, my mom and I, we all have used Angie's devotionals that she's put out together. We live in different states, and we will actually get on a phone call and go through her devotionals together. So she does have some really amazing products. So if you do happen to be a Christian and you're looking for that kind of stuff, definitely check out Gathered and Sown. And Angie, I am still waiting to get
those books moved to Time in the Word Made Simple.
Okay, sorry. Now they're going to be in Time in the Word Made Simple. So I highly recommend her. Definitely check her out. If you need leather work stuff, she's excellent at that as well. I've actually seen her studio where she was doing the leather working. And it's pretty amazing, all the stuff that she's able to do. So again, Angie, thank you for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon, my dear.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
If you like what we're doing here at Tech Challenge Makers Conquer E-commerce, and it's helping you gain clarity and direction in your business, you should check out ELISE's e-commerce elevator. In this 6-month group coaching program, I'll guide you through the ins and outs of building a business for purchase conversion. You'll also get to join up with a small group of other e-commerce shop owners who are focused on building exponential growth and reaching the right audience. Head over to myscheduledbiz.com/elevator and join us. We welcome a limited number of new members every 6 months, and by signing up today, you'll reserve your spot. Thanks for listening. See you next week right here on Tech Challenge Makers Conquer E-commerce.